What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So solid day for SoFi. As projected, that 1 hour falling wedge played out today and we saw a great bounce. Overall market was decent today, a bit choppy and flat, but SoFi was up 4.10% after retesting that breakout, down a little bit after hours, but keeps flirting with that 21 range. Overall, I'd say that's a pretty bullish close. Now, SoFi's volume was a little bit lower today, but still a great day. Pretty sure everyone is making money, except for this guy who's a bit salty about SoFi, but hey, you can't win them all. SoFi on the week is up 5.86%, 42% on the month, so really can't argue with that. We'll see how SoFi does in the coming days and weeks, but let's get into the recent news and go over the charts and sentiment. So if you guys enjoy these videos, please like and subscribe, check out the Patreon, and let's get into it. All right, now getting into the articles, we have some mixed views here, but first up, SoFi Technology stock won't reach 25 this year. Now, it's not too far off 25 ahead of these catalysts, so, I'm not sure I agree with that. I think this could definitely see 25 on some good news. But basically, it talks about how SoFi stock has been hot over the last couple of weeks, and they don't think that it will rise to the $24.58 average price that analysts have given it. So I just think that's somewhat of a bold statement ahead of the catalyst that will likely take SoFi stock much higher. We've seen stocks pop off, weaker news than something like a bank charter or good earnings, but we'll just have to wait and see. But it talks about how SoFi is still 15% down from the June highs, goes into should the stock be higher, and it references Q2 earnings and how they had an 8 to 10% beat. However, the stock still dropped 14% upon the release because its profit outlook fell short of analysts' average expectations. Now getting into a nod from Wall Street, just talking about the Morgan Stanley upgrade recently and the price target of $25. So Grasick believes that lending is the toughest part of consumer finance. You need to understand credit and deliver excellent customer service. She went on to state that by lending customers money and reducing their expenses, SoFi is incentivizing customers to return to the company for mortgages, brokerage services, and credit cards. Like I said, I actually just recently transferred everything over to SoFi and I love the platform. It's very simple and easy to use. Wrapping up the article here, it talks about how SoFi gets most of the revenue from personal loan originations. Student loans and mortgages are currently generating lower sales for it than personal loans. That only changed in Q2 when personal loans overtook student loans. We know that they've been deferred for a long time now. And it's just basically talking about how, in this person's opinion, that simply doesn't give SoFi investors any indication that SoFi mortgage business is strong. They go on to talk about the moratorium on student loans and how they expire January 31st, 2022. Students are going to wait to see what the government decides to do afterwards until the end of the year at least. So basically, this is a very short-term mindset. SoFi has much more to the business than just these loans, and especially in the short term, because we know that student loans aren't going anywhere, and that's only a little bit of SoFi's business. There's much more to it, and obviously these are going to come back. People are going to refinance, and people are still going to pay their loans. So I think this is just very short-minded, short-term, and I still think SoFi is going to do well. Then we have this article here by Seeking Alpha, pretty much saying the exact opposite, saying SoFi is too cheap to ignore, and how SoFi has surged lately. The breakout anticipates major growth in the coming years. And I am excited for these earnings coming up in November to see, what has changed with SoFi, what the outlook is. But I am more excited for 2022 earnings, around Q2, Q3 of 2022. I think those are going to blow people away. And that's when you're really going to see SoFi start to take off. I think we're getting in, even though it feels like SoFi's pumped a lot because it's 21 and just a couple months ago it was 13 to 15. I still think with a long-term outlook, we're getting in at a really cheap price for SoFi. But it says SoFi shares are still undervalued given the growth and revenue opportunity. SoFi is looking at tripling its customer base and quadrupling its revenues by 2025. So it's a very positive outlook. Obviously, you want to buy on the red days, buy on the pullbacks, not the pumps. But if you're just a buy and hold kind of person, then scaling in whenever will obviously work out. All right, so this is the part of the video where I go over the charts, and then the end of the video will be the flow and sentiment from Flow Algo and just all the big money coming into SoFi or coming out of SoFi. So if you want to skip around, that's what we're going to be talking about. So here we go. RSI overbought at the moment, but the MACD is crossing up bullish. We talked about this yesterday, the falling wedge and the retest. So it broke out of the falling wedge, right to resistance at around $21, but still closed bullish. So we'll see if we can break through this. SoFi looks very determined to break through that 21 and hold. And if we can break and close over 21, I think we're going to go on a pretty good run here. And we'll see, ahead of earnings, how bullish people are on SoFi. And if any more news comes out, I really do think we're going to break and hold over that. Now we are on the daily. As you can see here, still overbought. But basically, if you go back a few videos, we have played these charts very well. So we broke out, then we knew that this retest of the breakout was coming. That falling wedge played out right into resistance again. So we are just really flirting with this resistance line here. If we scroll up, you can see here are the support and resistances now. 21.54 is our first resistance. Second would be 22. First support, 20, 22. And then we could drop back down into the 19s, which still is not bad from where we were just a couple of weeks ago. But basically, I'm looking at 21, and that big mark to break, the milestone to break, I would say is around 24. And that's when people would really start FOMOing back into SoFi, and likely some pretty good news would take us there. Something else I noticed here on the weekly, and you can see it on the daily, but I'm pulling up the weekly because it's much clearer. This nice rounding bottom, this cup forming, cup and handle, one of my favorite patterns to play. So SoFi has a nice rounding bottom. What we could see is a little bit of a pullback to around 1950, which is second support right now. I wouldn't mind that. That's where I might add some more, shares or long calls ahead of the earnings. And then hopefully earnings help us break out. If this does play out, that would be a very bullish pattern right there. Come in, form the handle, and then break out. And maybe we see 22, 24 again. So keep that in mind. That's something I'm definitely watching. All right, and wrapping things up, going over the flow sentiment from Flow Algo. This is talking large orders. Last 7 days, pretty much 50-50 here. You have 4 million calls bought, 4.3 million sold. Puts bought 687,000 and puts sold 554,000. Now over the last day, it's a little bit more bearish, 59% bearish. Calls bought 46K, calls sold 66K, so those are covered calls, and no puts bought, no puts sold. So overall, SoFi is just in a mid zone right now. People are waiting to see if we break over 21 or if we reject and come back down. We'll have to wait and see in the coming days. It depends on market sentiment. But hope you guys enjoyed the video and the update. Please like and subscribe, and have a good one.